Hello there and welcome to my YouTube channel, Gilding Wax. So today we're going to do some tiny art. This is a little, well you can see, I can't be bothered measuring it, but you can see it fits inside the palm of my hand. So it's a tiny little canvas. I think I bought this from the works for about 50p. I have recently been sorting through my craft space to bring everything downstairs. And I've sort of rediscovered a whole load of stuff that I had squirreled away for various projects. This was part of, I don't even know if I've got the other half of it. See, I have got a whole box of junk that I squirrel away. Broken jewellery, little bits and bobs that, you know, Kezia gets toys in, old necklaces, all sorts. I've got perfume bottles in here. Literally, you name it, I've got all sorts of stuff in there. So, I sort of rediscovered some of this stuff. So this was part of it. It was like a little clip doll that Kezia had that broke. The clips broke on it. But I thought we could make a little sort of steampunk outfit. So I'm thinking that I'm going to arrange some cogs and whatnot. We're just going to make a little miniature piece of art. So I'm going to pop some cogs down with some gel medium, and then I'm going to get our dress down, and then I was thinking that what I might do is get some paper clay out. Just trying to rearrange these cogs so that yeah, we've got a nice sort of selection coming down. So I'm thinking, so that we don't need to waste our cogs either. So maybe something like that would maybe work. Yeah. We'll get some cogs down anyway. I think I've said that about 3 times now, so let's stop saying it and get on with it. Right, where have I put my gel medium? I am in the process of film. I currently have 2 half-done projects. So this is the 3rd video that I've started filming today. And I'm filming them all simultaneously. And then this will be a simultaneously one as well, because this is going to require drying time. So, and I can't see where I've put my gel medium. I will be back in the corner. I'm almost at the bottom of this gel medium. This is the Pretty Gets Gritty one, which I like. Right, I'm going to stick some of these cogs down, and then we'll stick the dress down, and then I was thinking we could make it a little bit more flowing, and somewhere in my embellishments somewhere, I think I've got tiny little cogs, which we could maybe try and pop into the paper clay, if I can find them. So yeah, I have just literally finished, well maybe not literally, like 2 weeks ago, finished moving all the stuff from the loft down here. So it's useful that it's all down here, but it's not necessarily accessible because it's on boxes piled upon boxes, and I was more focused on just getting it in. So what box it's actually gone into, who knows? But as I said, I did sort of start rediscovering things that I had squirreled away. So I know I've got these tiny little cogs that I'd actually got part of, it's like a nail art kit, so they really are very tiny. I'm thinking including some of those on the dress could be quite good. Sometimes doing tiny art is good because it's like there's not much space involved, but it can also be really quite challenging to get the proportions right. Maybe actually the key up there on top of the cogs. Decisions. Actually, maybe just, yeah, I'm going to put it there. It's going to need a bit more gel medium underneath it though, because it's slightly raised, if that makes sense. But hopefully it'll look alright. There we go. Right. So, and then I'm going to put the dress in the middle, like so. But obviously that is going to take an epic amount of gel medium, so I'm not going to do that. I am going to grab some cardboard that is conveniently to hand, and I'm just going to fill this up with cardboard till it's level, and then once I've done that, then we'll stick it down. So I'm literally just going to keep putting layer upon layer of cardboard down and sticking it down. Once I've done that, I've got that to this stage now, and I am going to try and slather loads of gel medium onto that so that we definitely get a good adhesion. So we'll stick that. As I said, I'm not overly keen on the shape of her dress, but I'm thinking I might try and adapt it by layering over some paper clay. So let's get that stuck down there. Oh, I'm feeling a bit hungry now, but hubby's cooking a roast, so I'm quite excited about that. It's been a good week for me this week, although we've gone back to homeschooling this week. My husband works as a window cleaner, so technically he can still work even under current restrictions, but it's been lots of snow, so he's been off. So he's been on schoolwork, and I've been able to sort of focus on my work, which is cool. Now I'm just taking a paintbrush now and trying to clean it, because obviously we've got quite a bit of excess gel medium, and I don't really want it to affect the shape. When we go to sort of start painting over and stuff, I still want to see the detail of the actual key and the cogs. So I've just taken a small paintbrush and I'm just lifting out the excess from the various crevices just to neaten it up. Having said that, I'm about to put gritty paste on it, so it's probably a bit pointless. But I feel like I need to do it, so I'm just going to keep going with that. That probably is going to be quite painful to watch, so I'll be back and clean those up a little bit. I've got some marble paste, but I'm only wanting little bits of. I love this stuff. I mean, I know I do it in nearly every video, but hang on, you just have to, like, you hear that? Just awesome. Now normally I would apply that with a palette knife, but I'm only actually wanting a very small sections of it, but I don't know, I like it with steampunk. I think it really suits the you know, like when you've got old keys and cogs and things like that, there's an element of rust and oxidization and stuff like that, and I do find that I'm going to put quite a bit at the bottom actually, because it'll help to ground the piece a little bit, and I really like it on cogs and things like that, because I think it really helps if you can sort of go down the patina look as well. It just works really well. How much of this will be seen, because as I said, I'm wanting to alter her dress a little bit, so how much this stuff at the edge is going to be seen, I don't know. But I'm just brushing it in various places around and about, because I can, quite frankly. That's probably the sum the sum total of it, because I can. Let's just, oh, I love the crunch of that. Oh, sorry, I don't even know if I was on screen there. There we go. Let's get some of that on there. And again, it's just all going to add that extra element of detail once we're done. And bring that over right across the bottom. Let's get there. Right, so I'll leave that to dry a little moment. I'm going to put the paper clay on while it's still wet, because that takes time to dry as well. So then I'll probably leave the whole thing overnight. Seems a bit, you know, when you're doing such a tiny project, having to leave it overnight seems like really sort of daft, but it needs must. It needs must. But as I said, if you're doing mixed media projects, I think giving them the time that they need, you know, to dry or for a certain process to work, it's worth doing it. And what I tend to do is I tend to, when I'm doing mixed media like this, I do have 2 or 3 projects. Like I have got my next Dawn and Julia Create, well not my next one because it's the one after, currently drying. I've got another project that I'm working on drying as well. So I've got all of these. So it'll get to a stage where one of them will sort of be ready for the next stage. And then you just move back and forth. So I always do sort of recommend that if you get impatient drying, waiting for things to dry, it's like try working on a few different projects at the same time. So we'll leave that, and I will be back in a moment once I've got my paper clay stuff out. Okay, so my head, this is going to be amazing. Let's see what happens in reality. So this is FMM paper clay. I have not used I can't speak FMM before. I've normally used Hearty Soft. I have used Martha Stewart. I like both of them equally, but I've always favoured Hearty Soft because of the price point. So yeah, we'll see how we get on. What I would do now is this needs to go in an airtight Ziploc bag or something, and then if you've got like a little damp tissue or something, you can pop that in the bag as well. I'm just gonna put, because I've just remembered I've got a cog plate there. So, but sometimes fresh clay is just a bit too wet to start sticking it in the moulds. So I'm literally thinking that if I just roll this out really thin and then sort of mould it round the dress and create different folds, and then just use the scissors, to cut in. And I'm just using my blending mat to roll onto. I don't suppose that'll do any harm. So I'm thinking that if we can just sort of almost fold it on. We shall see whether this works or not. Who knows? Right. Let's see what occurs. Just peeling that off. This is still a little bit sticky. If you take it and use it straight out the packet, it can just be slightly too sticky to use. So I'm thinking that if we just sort of, let's create a little straight edge, because I only want to do it from the waistband. I'm quite happy with the top, but I'm thinking that we could create some interesting folds and shape to the dress if we were to use clay. But I could be really, really wrong. As I'm just proving just there. So let's give it a bit of shape and pretend I'm almost trying to, so let's create some folds, and then we could just sort of build these up, she says. So that we could have it like so. I might have to end up gluing this on, but we'll see. That looks alright. Right, so then we'll have another bit that's maybe a bit flatter. Oh, yeah, that's why I need to wait for these things to stick down first. I'll slip a bit of gel medium under there. All will be okay. I'm going to roll that out again. And it doesn't matter, I'm picking up little bits of fluff and things, but to be honest that really doesn't matter because I'm probably going to be painting all of this as well. Let's create a nice round edge to this. I'm completely making this up as I go along. I actually have absolutely no idea what I am doing. So, right, let's cut that down. And we'll tuck this around here. We can kind of follow the shape that's there. So I'm thinking if we get that down there like so, that's looking alright. And then we pop this over there. See, I already prefer that as a dress to what she had. And stick that down there like so. She's going to need some sort of belt, but we can create a, see if that looks quite good. We could create some sort of belt and add some cogs. I mean, it maybe needs a bit more shaping so that she doesn't look huge. I'm just gonna tuck it in and fiddle around and play. I maybe should have done this before trying to do it because everything's sort of moving underneath. But yeah, I think that's okay. Right. So let me have a look for some embellishments. I have had a rummage. I'm going to have to complete. Now these are probably, I'm looking at it and I can see myself that this is way too big, but then I'm also thinking that an oversized belt buckle could be kind of really funny as well. You know, I mean, what's the worst that can happen? We've wasted the tiniest canvas in the world. Check that. It's got a little. See, I just think that that could be quite funny. It could kind of work if I just bend it slightly. That's a bit crazy, but I'm going to go for it because I think it's quite cool. Yes, she has lost the plot. I kind of think it works. I kind of think it works. You know, like a massively oversized belt. I mean, it's steampunk. Steampunk can be what you want it to be. There we go. I think that's cool. I think that really, it's bizarre, but I think it really works. Okay, while I've got the gel medium out, let's get this cog that was moving about stuck back down. There we go. I've been sort of moving it a bit too much. Oops, that's way too much now. It's all me cleaning that up earlier. That was useful. Right, so I'm sure all of this will still stick. It's probably just, as I said, it's probably just that it's not stuck just yet. Right, let's get some gel medium in behind there. Right, I think that is cool. Like, I know that that is bizarre. I see it, you know, I am seeing it. But I kind of think it works. Right, let's get some, I'm going to get some cogs on here as well. And maybe have them coming down onto the folds of the dress a little bit. I could do a sticky pencil thing, but it's not. So we're back to it, and I've got these applicators, but they are not choosing to work either. I've got one out here and it's not actually picking anything up, so that's just useless. So we'll just keep seeing how we get on. Oops. So I'm going to get a few of these and I should just be able to push these into the clay and they should just set, but I think these are incredibly cute. As I said, I bought these but they're for nail art, so they are genuinely just so, I mean, look at that. I can't even see that on my finger. Little washer. Oops, it's bounced off. There we go. Ah, that one's picked up. Right, so I'm going to stick just a few on her dress. Oops. So we've got the one on the belt buckle, and I'm just, as I said, pushing a few into the clay because they should sort of set dry. I mean, I could just maybe put a little bit of medium or something over them, and we'll see how we go. I want an open cog. I know what I mean by that. Like that. I don't want one that's looking overly heavy. And this should sort of like bend. It's so delicate that we should just be able to bend the cog a little bit. I think that'd be cool, just having cogs down her dress. Now, I have noticed that, let's just move that over. This is proving quite fiddly. Right, it's looking really bulky down this side, not surprisingly. So I'm just going to hold on to the dress, and I really want to sort of push it in down that side. Everything is really moving. I am getting to the stage where I am just going to have to sort of leave it alone, and if there's any more to be added, it might need to be added after the fact, but I am liking it, definitely liking it. I'm liking the little cogs coming down her dress. So I think what I'm going to do is, this is going to be quite painful to watch. I want a few more, I think, coming down. And then I might leave it. I've also got these little clocks. So So I'm wondering whether to pop one of these on. I kind of want the red one because it's not really a colour I'd use on its own, so I'm okay gesturing over it. Whether to have a little clock down there, but that might be too, unless we just shifty that all over a little bit to there, and then have do you know what, sometimes working on a smaller surface can be harder than working on a bigger surface. Yep, I think we'll maybe go with that actually. We'll stick that down. I'm just going to, what I'm going to do is let me just pull this whole dress up again. This is just daft. There we go, because I really want to make sure that all of this is going to stick. So I'm going to grab, I shouldn't really be using a brush, but that's what I've got to hand because my palette knife is currently in the water. So I'm just putting loads of glue down the sides of that bit so I know it's going to stick. So this is the thing, I am making it a complete pig's ear of this. It's not the best how-to of, you know, but sometimes your ideas come to you halfway through a process, you know, and it's good to sort of show that, do you know what, that's okay too. If halfway through you get an inspiration and it means you sort of have to hodgepodge things for a little while, that's fine. Just don't be afraid to go with it. Don't be afraid to change your mind and move things around. It's your project. So all I just need to do is sort of rearrange it and make sure that's stuck, and I like that. Now I'm going to put up a bit of gel medium on the back of this clock as well. This gel medium is getting to its end. I'm also using fairly good brushes in this gel medium, which is a really stupid idea. So I'm going to go and wash all of these straight away. I'm going to pop that in there, but it should set into the dress as well. I like that. Okay, that is cool. And let's just maybe add a few more of these sort of cogs and washers, because we've got the ones that are there, but we could add some of these teeny tiny ones and overlay them a little bit, just for a bit more interest. And then I think I'm going to paint all of this black and do some dry brushing, so it's maybe going to look a lot less random once we've got to that stage. At the minute I do get that it looks like, what on earth does that crazy woman think she is doing? Completely concur. What I'm going to do is just brush some gel medium onto the canvas there. It's a bit thicker than I intended, but that's fine. I'm just going to brush it down, and then it means I can just drop these cogs into it, she says. We'll pop a few on there, and again it's just a case of building the background up. I think this is the stage with mixed media as well. It just does look absolutely, oh my goodness, what is happening. So if you are in that position and you're trying mixed media and you're looking at these amazing works of art from other people and thinking mine doesn't look like that, then patience, just at least see your project through to its completion. Don't compare your halfway done work with someone else's finished work. So I'm literally just sort of dropping these in, and that one might need a bit of assistance. So let's just get a bit of gel medium on the back of that one. But hopefully this will just all help to add a bit of interest. I like that. I think it's going to look amazing when it's all done. Now, it does look rather untidy down this edge here. I don't know if you can see that. That does look a bit untidy. So I'm not going to be making cogs, so I'm going to put that away. And we'll preserve that and maybe do something with that another day. I'm going to pull my marble texture paste in again, and let's just get some of that down the side here because it is looking a bit messy, but I think the marble texture piece will sort of it'll help with that, in that that's meant to look messy, so it will cover a multitude of sins. And as I said, I really like it for the sort of patina look that we will be able to create with that. I think it's cool. I think it's going to be really interesting. It's going to be one of those. It's going to look absolutely amazing, or it's going to look awful. I'm gonna go with let's see this through to its completion, because I'm sure it could be very, very amazing. It has the potential. Right. It has the potential to look incredible. A little bit of steampunk fashion. Why not? Right. Just going to fill in all of these little nooks and crannies, and I said I think that's going to help to sort of make sense of the mess a little bit. Okay, so I will now leave that be and clean everything up. Probably be tomorrow or the day after maybe, because as I said I'm filming 3 things, so it depends what comes first, but we will be back to this at some point in time, and I'll see you then. Look at this, I love how it looks all cute and all dry. It's lovely. So now I'm going to go on to painting. Now I'm probably going to do most of it with dry brushing. That's a paintbrush. It was washed in my tub, but it feels like it could do with another washing. But at the same time, I am quite tempted to have the dress a bit more colourised. So we will just gradually see how we go. So I have got Pebeo here. We've got blue, turquoise, and then I've got an iridescent turquoise, which is gorgeous. I've also got this one, which is one of my favourite colours, iridescent green yellow. I can't read the French version of that. There we go. We'll get, obviously because it's steampunk, I'm thinking patina, so I've got a little bit of a rust colour here, which is Venice yellow. Yeah, and we'll see how we get on. I might bring in some gold at some point, but I will most likely do some form of, what do you call it, gilding wax or something like that. So let's get a few colours out. It's funny, I'm working on another project and I've used my Dina Weekly gloss sprays, and they are now all over my iPad, so it's going to be fun trying to get that off. So as I'm looking at my screen to see how things are going, there's this lovely lovely pink splatter. Oh, look at that, it's so pretty. Yeah, I definitely, although I'm going to be dry brushing the rest of it, I definitely want the dress to pop out from the rest. So I am going to properly paint that. The iridescence on that is just a bit yummy. So I maybe have to get out a Prussian blue, or like a dark sort of almost black blue for the shading of this dress. We'll still probably do dry brushing on the dress as well, because that's what will help to emphasise the folds and the gorgeous belt buckle, oversized belt buckle, which I think is fabulous. Loving the real metallic look this is giving. I love this. It's like when you do mixed media, you go through stages of what a random mess. I've just finished doing a live in crafting with all brands, and just because it was a live and you got to a live for drying times, I only got as far as like the real messy stage. So at the minute it's like, oh, people spent the time to watch me put a collection of junk together in a box. But hopefully next week when they tune in, it'll all come together as we have going on here. Look at that, it's so pretty. Now I'm going to just paint the whole thing, even over the belt buckle, but with dry brushing on the belt buckle and things, we will get that to go turn gold. But at the minute I think it's more important to sort of get a coverage on the dress. As I said, I think we'll come in with a darker colour and possibly some of that green for highlights, because I still think even when you're painting up a piece like this, it is really, really important to think about colour tone. You don't have to worry about light source technically and all of that sort of stuff, but I think even on the eye, if you've got various tones in there, it makes such a difference. Right, so I'm going to just leave that be for the moment. And then we will yeah, because it's not an overly even coverage, but we'll let that dry. But I think it really pops. So now I want to get a flatter brush. Let's see if I can get a smaller one, because we are working on a small piece of art. So I've got a small flat brush, not overly. Oh, hang on, here we go. Right, so for dry brushing, I'm not going to take up a lot, just taking up a little bit, and I am going to go about 3/4 up. The other thing is you don't want to go in on the tip of your brush, because you will get all the details. What we're trying to do is just sort of pick up the texture, so we're just not wanting it to take too much of all the details here, and we'll just layer that up so that we've got a lovely sort of rusted background. But we're going to now start to see all those cogs. So at first you see all the texture, but it looks a complete and utter mess. Then we get it so it looks uniform, but then it's like, oh, what was the point in that, because now we've lost all the texture. And this is the point, this is the bit where that texture really starts to come alive, when you start doing your dry brushing. I'm going to get in there as well, because I've got some tiny little cogs in there. So I'm starting off with the same blue that's in the dress, so that we've got the same undertones across the whole piece, but we will sort of start picking up the other colours as well. So let's get a bit of this green. So I've not cleaned my brush, not too bothered, I'm just going to work it in. So let's get some different colours on here going on. It's lovely. Again, I'm working with the flat of the brush. I love this green. It's like, it is green, but it definitely, when you start doing stuff like this, there's like a gold tone that comes through it, which is just a bit scrummy. I'm going to bring in some of this. I'm going to actually mix that yellow and the rust together, because I think neither of the colours is quite right. Oh, sorry, I'm doing that off screen. It's going on so zoomed in, I can barely see what's going on. There we go. Let's get some of these rusty colours in, so it doesn't look quite so shiny. I want it to look really, you know, like the rust and steampunk leather. And so I'm going a bit heavier just on the edge of the project there, and that's because I'm wanting to frame it. So I am trying to get the colour a bit further in. So I'd kind of said, like, you know, don't do that. I'll have to stick some more of this in. I've probably got a bit too much paint on my brush now as well. So let's just wipe that off. I'm just wiping it into a cloth, because obviously we're dry brushing, so I don't really want to be dipping it into water. So I've just wiped it off into my rag, but it's also a painty rag here, so I've just wiped it off into there. Okay. And we'll get those different undertones going. So, as I said, I am going slightly heavier in the corners and on the edges to frame it, to draw the eye in. So I've said with dry brushing keep it on the flat, but because I am trying to create a block of colour that's going to pull the eye in, I have sort of gone in a little bit with the tips, but that's okay, because I will end up doing more dry brushing of those other colours in a bit. But I'm trying to, this is where I'm trying to get my leathery rusty feel going on with this project. Oh, it's nice. It's it's nice working on a tiny piece. Sometimes actually working on a small piece in your head, I think, is less challenging. It's less challenging than a large piece of white paper or something like that. I'm going to grab the edges as well. But then actually sometimes getting the design element to flow and to work on a tiny piece can be quite, because you don't have the same sort of room for manoeuvre, that can be quite challenging as well. I'm just putting that browny rustic colour down the edge just to sort of carry it around. Just, yeah. Oh, get it going in there. Yeah, that's nice. Right, so I'm going to let that dry a little bit, and then I think I'm going to bring in a yellowy colour. Let's just get a little bit going just directly behind the dress as well, so that we've got a bit of shadowing going on. Look at that. Oh, I love it! Right, I'm just going to grab some more paint. So I've not dried the piece off because I want to be able to sort of blend the paints that I've got. I've got a Prussian blue and an ultramarine blue, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the Prussian blue and get that right in the crevices or the dark areas. So obviously this piece of the dress is overlapping the front, so there's going to be a shadow area in there. So let's concentrate on this part of the skirt and we'll get that all blended up, and then we'll go into another part. So we're going to start with that Prussian blue, and I'm going to bring in some of that ultramarine, which will just lighten that a little bit. Excuse the noise. And then I'm going to take in that iridescent blue again, and I'm going to work in. Okay, so again, like I would do if I was doing an ombre effect, so we've got the dark, I'm going to pull that down. I'm going to bring that down here. Okay, and then we'll get the iridescent, start from the bottom, and we'll work up, and then we'll sort of blend what's going on in the middle, and then that way we'll get a slightly different tonal value, which I think stops looking at, it's like we sort of started off with a tacky shiny dress, and you know, from the toy that we had, and then when we put the first coat on, it sort of went back to that sort of tacky shiny thing, but it's the shadowing and the shading that's going to make that difference. So I'm going to get that Prussian blue right in the centre of the fold of this. This is going to be really dark because there's no light getting in there. So let's get that Prussian blue in that crevice there, and also this crevice here. Again, would be really dark because there's no light getting in there. And then once we've got all of this bit done, then we'll work on the highlight areas. Okay, and then again I'm going to take some of this iridescent blue and work it in so that we've got a blending between the two colours. Let's blend that together, and then we would have these bits here are the furthest forward, so they would really be bright. So let's actually get a bit of that green, because this would be even brighter. This would be the brightest point. So even within the dress we have got all of those tones going on. So I'm going to keep working on the dress. What I might do is pop you on speed up, because I've kind of gone through the principle and this is going to take a while, but I feel it's worth doing. So again, this is the darkest area because we've got the belt buckle is in front of it, so there's going to be a shadow behind it, so it's going to be dark there. So I'm going to keep doing the same, going dark and then blending in with, sometimes with the ultramarine blue as well, and then sometimes just with the iridescent, depending on how much sort of space and how much of a change, a transition change that we need. But I think I'm just going to pop you on fast forward as I can. quite stupidly in between decided to heat gun this, which caused bubbles, which I tried to pop, but I've got a bit of imperfection now there in the dress, which bothers me a little bit, but hopefully by the time we sort of keep working and fiddling away with this, that it will be okay. I'm thinking that I'm going to get my craft box souffles out as well, to be honest, so a little bit of glitter over there and we'll be good to go. But yeah, it took a while to put the dress together, but I do think it makes a difference. I am going to be doing a bit more dry brushing with some gold. As I said, I'm just sort of bringing that up because I think the belt could do with a few more highlights, so a little bit of gold would probably help with that. So we'll see if we can do it now. If not, what I will do is go and grab myself a cuppa and then come back. But we'll see. Oh, I love it. I love it. It looks so good. It looks so good. It's so cute as well. There we go. Nice. I'm going to wonder if we... tiny bit of pink. Don't want a lot because obviously we've gone for like the teals. I like teal as a steampunk colour. I was wondering whether to bring a bit of pink. It's probably a bit too heavy actually, but we'll cover that again once we do another layer of something else. You never know till you try. It'll make a nice undertone. So we'll go with that. And then what I'll do is, let's try a bit more green. Oops, that's too much paint on my brush, that. So I'm just going to get my cloth and wipe as much of that as I can off. Knock it back, so never panic. Never panic. Even though I've smudged my dress as well. It's not smudged, it's just that it's caused a crease in there that I just didn't really want. But we'll work around it. Sometimes making a mistake, you know, and doing something that you don't like, you have to then sort of work to get it how you do like it. And in that process, you can learn quite a lot. So now I've got some of the gold out as well. We'll see how this goes. I'm liking a lot. I think it's cool. This is a project that I have had in my head. I really am. I'm sitting there thinking, I've been thinking the past few days, I've got so many ideas in my head for YouTube videos, for Instagram reels, and then sometimes when I get the time to sit down and actually do something, I'm kind of like, oh, I don't know what to do. So maybe I should actually write some of these things down. But yeah, this is one of those projects that it was in my head, and so I'm delighted it's sort of turning out sort of as I imagined it in my head. I mean, obviously I didn't have it fully planned in my head, but it's yeah, what am I trying to say? Yeah, I didn't know what the overall thing was going to look like, but I did sort of have the idea of the dress and the steampunk in my head, and you know, but sometimes when you start off on a project you can be like, yeah, I'm just glad it's working and not looking overly tacky. So what I've done is I've put a little bit more teal in, more for the rule of threes, because we've got teal in the dress and we'd sort of lost it anywhere else. So I've popped a little bit there and a little bit there, and that's actually blended with that pink that we had down and made a nice purpley hue, which I think works quite well. So that is quite nice. Right, I'm going to get some of that gold. Let's get a smaller brush again, and I'm going to grab some of the gold now that we've got it, and I'm just going to emphasise the belt back a little bit more, give that more of a highlight. So see what I mean about the dress, we've got the highlights there, we've got the shadows where the shadows would be, and I do think that makes a huge difference. I'm a huge believer in that having your various tones in your project, even if you don't understand the light theory of it, that's fine, but just sort of having the various tones there, making sure that they're there somewhere in some respects, can make such a difference to the overall project. So I'm just sort of trying to emphasise that belt buckle a little bit. And even the belt, that's, if I can sort of try and catch the edges of it a little bit. Like that. So it's got a bit more depth. Like tonally this belt has sort of just been the one colour. So hopefully just bringing in something else, that just again brings it to life a bit. The fact that we've got a few different tonal values in there is good. And I think even when I was putting that belt buckle down, I was thinking, oh, it's a real steampunky look, but it's far too big. But actually, I like it. Right, what I think I am going to do now is I'm going to grab my souffles and put some of that in, and then, oops, that will be it for today, I think. So yeah, I'm back in a second.
So rather daftly, I have filmed the wrong bit. So right now you're seeing me cleaning up. What I had intended to film was me applying the gorgeous souffle from Craftbox UK. So that white milky stuff that you're seeing there in the corners, that's the souffle, which I've just sort of rolled on with a brush, and I've also very delicately painted it over parts of the dress, and that was to hide those little cracks that I'd caused by using the heat gun on it that I wasn't that keen on. So the next bit you'll see is when it's all dry and just gorgeous.
Oh my goodness, how fabulous does this look? Oh, love, 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 love. Right, so final touches. I'm going to try and put a very, very delicate, very, very, very delicate, she says, hoping, amount of gilding wax. I just want to bring out some of these little features a little bit, and then maybe give the project a little bit of a sort of gilded frame, just to frame it. So, but I am trying my best to go really canny because it's so easy to overdo this, and I'm just sort of wanting to bring out a little bit of the textures. Now what's cool about Pebeo Gilding Wax, it is my favourite. I have tried craft waxes, and yeah, nothing has compared to the Pebeo Gilding Wax in my mind. Pebeo Gilding Wax is a furniture grade wax, so it's designed for furnishings. It goes further. I've probably had this about, oh, it's got to be over 10 years. I've had it well before my daughter was born. I literally use it on nearly every mixed media project. I've used it in classes where I've had full, 6 or 7 people all sort of dipping into it and using it, and yeah, you can see I've still got loads. But what is cool about it being furniture grade as well is you can buff it up, which I think is fabulous. I'm just thinking that I'll just again try and catch some of the features on her dress. I want to try and catch this belt buckle, so I'm sort of putting a bit in my finger and sort of pouncing it. And this is just the way I've found works the best with it, pouncing it a little bit somewhere. I'm just using the inside of the lid, but on your mat that you're using to mix things off, or your drop sheet or anything like that, would work just as well. And then once you've had it sitting on there a little minute, you can just grab a cloth and buff it up. I love how that opal souffle has gone. She's brought out more colours and I've been tempted to get them, and I was talking to our Dawn about it, and I have a feeling that when as I start editing this, I may make a little purchase, because I am completely in love with these souffles. They are definitely my new crafty addiction. So let me just grab a little not a blending mat. I'm going to grab my little rag, little painty rag that once was a sicky rag. This is just the the things you have when you're feeding your baby. Yep, so I had a whole load of them. Don't ask me why I hadn't thrown them out, but I hadn't. But I'm quite glad now, because now they are fabulous painty rags. And I like it as a painty rag, to be honest. So I'm just grabbing those bits that I had done and giving them a buff, because it really does bring the sheen out on it fabulously. And I think, again, you can't do this with the ones that you buy that are craft product ones. when you do this, because I have tried, when you do this it tends to wipe off. I think I've got that much in the habit of being able to buff it that I put a craft wax on and wipe it all off and think, oh yeah, that doesn't work. But that is one of the things that I really love about the Pebeo, and I'm quite pleased. I have actually managed to not go too heavy handed. I love it. Oh, do you know, it's one of these things, I had an idea in my head, and yeah, and you just hope that what's in your head sort of turns out. I'm just wondering if we need a sentiment or not. I'd quite like one. I think that's too big a sentiment. Little. I want something that's a small sentiment but kind of makes sense. Wishes, would that work? Oops. Yeah, let's just pop that there. So I am just going to give that a little bit more definition. I know it's black, but the Pro marker is a stronger black and it will still give it an edge. And I'm also going to stick a gel medium on the back of this as well, because it's going on all sorts of crookedy surfaces there. So I want it to stick, and the sticker will most likely pop off all of those uneven surfaces. This is the indigo blue super thick Slap It On, because I'm still waiting for my order of Pretty Gets Gritty to arrive. So even though it's sticky, I'm still just doing that. It means I can raise it up a little bit, and it also just means it will stick on all of those uneven surfaces permanently, which is what we want. Oh, I'm in love with this project. Oh, I don't know if you're supposed to love your own work so much, but yeah, absolutely love it. So there, I mean, you can see, look, that's my hand, so you can see how tiny this project is. That's it there. I love it. So I hope you've enjoyed this process as well. I hope you maybe will pull out your little odds and ends and make some tiny art. That would be fabulous. If you do share it with me. You can tag me on Instagram at Julia McNeil Crafts, and if you do, I'll share you to my stories and things like that. So that's all cool. Yeah, so if you have enjoyed it here, please do consider liking and subscribing, and I will be back with some more crafty goodness very, very soon. Okay, take care everybody, and goodbye.